You're watching the Cowboys Fan Show on UABQ, or you might be watching on YouTube, which is a perfect little segue, actually. So what we do here is we're going to take your questions from social media. You can send those into us, as you can see on the screen, our Facebook. You can email it to us. We're on Twitter, or if you're watching on YouTube, just drop a question in the comments. And if we like it, then we'll feature it on the show and give you a shout out. So let's get right into the questions, fellas. We've got a couple of questions this week from Richard Tripp, good friend of the show. Saw him this weekend. Thanks for all your support there, Mr. Tripp. He wants to know, Scott, who is most responsible for the Cowboys' recent success?
Honestly, the first name that popped in my head was Sean Lee.
Yeah.
First name that popped in my head was Sean Lee, and that's because we got spanked without him. I mean, this is just a different defense when he's in there. I mean, what were the stat numbers we were giving up?
Yeah,
How many?
I know Dallas gives up, I think, mid-30s with Sean Lee out, somewhere around 17 with him in, which is what we saw this weekend. Rushing yards were up around 150 with him out. With him in, it's somewhere around, I think, like 70.
Yeah.
So just drastic changes when Sean Lee is on that field.
Yeah, and I don't know how many tackles he got. I think he got credited with like 12 tackles.
Led the team.
It led the team in tackles again. But I mean, after watching the tape, I mean, the coaches are probably going to say he was responsible for like 19 of those things. I mean, just the guy is a difference maker. I think that the reason we struggled so bad in previous games was because he was out. Obviously, Todd Gurley doesn't do that to us if he's in there. I mean, look, Kareem Hunt, leading rusher from scrimmage. I mean, just leading player was most scrimmage yards in the NFL up to, and we held him to what, 37 rushing yards, most of those on one carry, and that's because Sean Lee was in there. Just he's the difference maker. That is what happened. That's why this team got turned around.
Adriel?
I agree. I know that we talked about last time as well as comparing our offense to our defense. I think they both stand the same at this point. Sean Lee's on fire. Offense is on fire. Sean Lee better stay healthy so we can get through the season and get this win. Yeah. He's the man.
Only thing keeping him from being a perennial, he should be a Pro Bowler every year except for you. Tyler said it earlier in the break. He's like, because he's always hurt when it's time to vote.
He always gets hurt and misses 4 games. So, of course, they're going to take Luke Kuechly, or shouldn't have said Kuechly because he's always hurt as well.
Right.
But, if I had to pick one person who's the most directly responsible, it's hard to go against Sean Lee, guys.
Right?
It really is. But when you break it down, in my opinion, I've got to go with Dak Prescott just because of that. Like I said last segment, just the maturation that he's shown. This kid is not rattled. He is just completely unfazed. And not only that, in his demeanor is he unfazed, but when he gets out there on the field and he's up there, he's among the league leaders in completion percentage every single week. His quarterback rating out of a possible 100 was a 95 this week. And that's consistent for Dak Prescott. So this guy, I mean, you got the Tom Brady in New England, and we've seen the Patriots survive without him for a few games. But I don't think Dallas is going to be able to survive without Dak Prescott. And we saw it a couple years ago when number 9 went out. We all went through that season, with Kellen Moore and Brandon Weeden and all those other guys. So I've got to go with Dak Prescott on that one. So moving on now, our second question: should Zeke just accept his suspension? Move on with it.
No, absolutely not. No, I mean, and the thing with Zeke is he's. I was reading somewhere this week that his legal team was saying, well, let's come to a compromise and let's just let's just reduce it. Let's meet somewhere in the middle and say whatever. But Zeke's biggest thing is he's like, I didn't do it.
Right.
I didn't do it. And he said that I'm not going to go out there and say I did something I didn't do, and I don't want to be labeled an abuser because that is just not me. So this man's not only fighting for game checks, he's fighting for his integrity. No, absolutely not. He should not just accept that suspension. If you're innocent, say that you are.
Exactly. Now, Adriel, before you answer, we see this week after week how it just keeps getting pushed back. We'll get a decision next week. There's been another TRO next week. Well, what happens, guys, if we get to Thanksgiving and they reach a final decision and Ezekiel Elliott is gone for the next 6 games, meaning A, we don't have him for the home stretch of the regular season, and then we don't have him for the postseason? That's where things get iffy. So with that being considered, would you think now that Zeke should just accept the 6 games?
No, definitely not. I feel comfortable to say that Dallas Cowboys can go ahead and let Zeke do his thing, even if they do decide to suspend him. They're on fire right now. Defense with Sean Lee back there, I don't think people understand that. He's a legend. There's nobody like that man in the game. But I also want to say that Ezekiel Elliott, if they're going to ride this out and they're going to stress him, it's kind of fun not knowing whether or not they're going to bench him or if he's going to be suspended.
Now when you're in fantasy,
I feel like it's added. I feel like it's added a lot to the season. You know, you feel like 1 week you don't know what's going to happen. It could be a total switch. But at this point, you can't have that on your record. You got to stay clean, especially as a player, especially even after the league. If you're going to be expected to work somewhere else, you need to keep clean. And that's something you don't keep on your record. So keep riding it out. He got a strong defensive team behind him. He's not going to let it go.
Yeah, if you can do it, don't do it. Yeah, I'm with Adriel on that one.
Yeah, and I actually agree with Scott's original point that he brought up is that, you know, if you do accept this, then it is a reputation type of thing. Like I saw this quote from Zeke. He said, "I don't want to be labeled an abuser. I am not an abuser." And that kind of label does come, unfortunately, with him accepting this suspension. So yeah, you know, if you didn't do it, then why are you going to take the punishment for something you didn't do? So I agree, guys. I would fight this and fight this and fight this as much as I absolutely could. So real quick, I just want to throw out one more question to you guys. Terrence Williams, 141 yards this week, guys. Bryce Butler had one catch for, I think it was like 5 or 6 yards. Do we know who's the number 2 receiver now?
No, absolutely not. And you know, and more importantly, they don't know who is. And Jason Garrett is a competition coach. And I think that what we saw this week is a result of that. I mean, you start dropping the ball, you're going to see less snaps. Bryce Butler's going to go in there, and he's going to start having an opportunity to do some things. I thought he had a big drop early in this game.
Yeah.
And then what happens? He sits, and T. Will goes out there, and he does his thing. So I think that this is a very healthy competition for this team, and I think it makes this offense better.
Adriel?
I agree. I like that they're having to fight for that number 1 spot because it makes them go harder at each other. And not only that, it all comes down to it's a team thing. You know, no matter what it comes down to, it's the credit of carrying a team. And they're all looking for one thing, and it's the ring as a team.
So you heard it here from them, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and step aside for just a moment and get this commercial break in. When we return, as always, we're going to have a look around the NFC East. So don't go anywhere. You're watching the Cowboys Fan Show.